In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband Joe.
Hello.
Hello. And today the podcast is powered by exciting tea.
Misery tea.
What are you drinking? I know what you're drinking.
I have no idea.
You're drinking peppermint tea.
Is it warmed up pond?
It's peppermint tea, Joseph.
Peppermint tea, okay.
And I am drinking honey, lemon and ginger.
I don't know.
The one in the yellow packet. It's very nice. Because I'm going to trapeze later and you are going to...
I'm off out strangling people in half an hour.
Yes, you're going pyjama cuddling.
Yes.
And so that's going to be fun. And today we are... What are we talking about? Should we do a quick Dingle update?
We probably should.
And explain to people that everything takes longer than you think it's going to take.
Jeez, laying a floor. Good Lord. So this is like proper laying a floor, like with floorboards. This isn't putting...
And lost head nails.
Lost head nails. This isn't like laminate flooring on top of a floor
click.
Any of that stuff. This is actual floorboards, but beautiful ones made out of oak.
Solid oak with tongue and groove and all machined to, be flat-ish.
Flat-ish, kind of. But they're all different lengths. All the boards are different lengths. And you've got to jigsaw them together and make the right ones, put the right ones in the right place and make sure none of the joins line up. And it's just a nightmare.
It's like trying to do a giant jigsaw puzzle without any picture on it or anything to refer to or any edge pieces or any helpful jigsaw cut-out shapes.
Whilst being threatened by falling down a big hole.
Danger hole.
Danger hole.
The danger hole. Yeah. So that's been fun. And Joe was convinced that I was going to fall through the danger hole.
And you didn't once?
I did not once. No.
Yeah.
Not once.
Quite surprised.
I know. I don't know why you would think that.
Given your kind of general crane fly, behaviour. I was convinced you were just going to disappear down a big hole at some point.
Huh.
It's true. So well done. Congratulations. But laying a floor takes a lot longer than expected. I thought we thought
we'd do it in a weekend.
I thought the first row would be tricky because of all of like the door rolls and jigsawing and posts and walls and stuff. And I thought the last one would be tricky. Mm-hmm. And who knows, it might be, but it feels like it's about 6 weeks away because it took blinking ever.
We did a full day on Saturday and a full day on Sunday. Bear in mind, a full day is actually really physically hard work as well.
Yeah, because all the boards are downstairs and the saw's downstairs and there's not enough floor to put it all on.
And so you're crawling around and it's really hard on your knees and your back and all of your body parts.
We must have done 12 hours work over the 2 days.
Yes, and we got barely halfway.
Just about halfway.
And then yesterday I laid a row all on my own.
That was very good.
Which I was quite chuffed with, and it's not quite as precise as it would have been if you and I had done it together, just because it's really difficult to keep a squeeze on the board, to keep the gap closed while you're on your own and hammer and not hit yourself in the face.
Yeah. And not fall down the hole.
But we're halfway across the floor. We're having the afternoon off on Friday and we're going to get a chunk done then, and then we're going to finish at the weekend.
We better had.
Even if we have to stay up until midnight. It's going to get done. So that's the Dingle update, and it's been a real big learning curve, and it's really funny. Actually, here's a little learning point for business owners everywhere. We've spent a couple of weeks kind of going, what? Because we've never done anything like this before. Mm-hmm. And we've looked at videos and we've asked advice and we've looked at the floor laying sheet that the timber merchant gave us, and we've done some more Googling and video looking at and all the rest of it. And in the end, it just simply came down to nail the first board down and go from there.
Yeah.
And it just got me thinking about everything that you do with running a business, writing a book. It's like, you just got to start. You've got to start, because otherwise, you're never ready.
Mm.
It's never, doing something that you're not comfortable with or that you're not familiar with. You're never ready to do it. It's just, that day will never come if you're waiting for the perfect time. You've just got to lay the first board and get on with it. And we did, and it was fine.
It was fine. It was slow and it took a while. We're still not finished, but yeah.
But we're doing a really nice job.
I think we're doing probably a nicer job than most people we would have paid to do it.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
No, I think that's true. I think most people would be just whacking them down.
I think they would do a much quicker job than us, and it would look just as nice at the end of it. And I think we're probably being perhaps more precise than we need to be because we don't understand how much floorboard we need and all the rest of it. So, but it was a bit like that when we did the insulation in the attic, wasn't it? The guys who did the plastering, the line plastering guys, came and had a look at the when they were quoting the job. When they were quoting the job, and they said to me, "Who did these?" And I was like, "Oh, me and my husband did them." And they were like, "You've done a really good job." And I was like, "Yes!" And
Masters approve.
Yeah, so that was really, really cool. Anyway, on to the topic of today's what are we doing? Podcast.
This is a podcast.
It is.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. We're on episode 165.
That's just ridiculous.
I know. I've been thinking of canning it.
Really?
Yeah. I've been thinking of canning it and starting a book writing specific podcast. I'm going to see what reaction, if any, that gets from our listener.
Hi, Vegard.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Or maybe rebranding it.
Or maybe just
I think that would be a mistake.
Starting again and just put it on repeat.
just do the
just keep going. There's 165 of them. That's more episodes than there were of MASH, and they're still showing that.
More episodes than there were of Buffy.
Yeah, and they're still showing that.
Somehow. Yeah, and The West Wing.
So we could just go.
Yeah, I could just go. Anyways, we are talking finally, having been threatening this for I think 4 weeks now. We are finally talking about
tittling.
Tittling, yes. How to choose. Did you know there's a type of golf ball
called titling?
Titleist for years and years. You know, we were talking about this the other day. I thought it was tit-lice. And it was only after I had been around the world of golfing for about 5 or 6 years, because my ex-husband's family were like massive golfers.
Right.
And I just was like, oh God, really? And for about 6 years, I thought it was tit-liced, and it just used to make me laugh every time. And because you never hear anyone say it out loud. And when they said titleist, I didn't think it was the same word. Anyway, we're tittling today.
Tittling.
We are doing 10 ways to choose your book title.
10 ways? Is that not a whole series? Do we not talk for 20 minutes on one of them and then just keep going for the next 9 weeks?
No. That would be really dull.
Really dull. Okay. Thank goodness.
But yeah, because it's a really difficult thing to do. It's really difficult. It took me months to come up with the title for my book, which I finally have done, by the way. Do you know what the title of my book is?
What is the title of your book?
It's How the Hell Do You Write a Book?
Okay. How long did that take?
Months. And I haven't even come up with the subtitle yet. So There you go. But yeah, it's just really difficult. It's really difficult because you keep seeing fabulous book titles all over the place and thinking, oh, that's a great title. I would like to use that, but I can't because that bastard's used it already. And then you start imagining awful, things befalling the person and the book, and it just spirals into nonsense. No, you don't. It's just me, apparently. So yes. It's difficult to write a book, and it's even more difficult, I would say, to come up with the title.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and why is it so difficult? I think it's because you have put all of this time and effort into writing your book, and so you think the title needs to be completely awesome.
Do you think most people write the book before they've got a title?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. I write my books before I got the title because I'm crap at coming up with titles for my own books. But this also, by the way, this podcast will be useful for people who are writing ebooks, courses. Naming your products and services and courses is a difficult thing to do as well, and it's all in the same area. So even if you're thinking, "Oh, I'm not writing a book, I'm not listening to this," then just listen. Because just listen. Jesus. Because it will be useful for other things too.
Other things apart from books have titles.
They do. Many things have titles.
Articles.
Yeah.
Newsletters.
And it's super important as well, because if you have a crap title for your book, then people are going to assume that the rest of your book is going to be crap as well.
Okay.
So it's a headline. Think of it as a headline because that's what it is.
Imagine it's like a headline and then do that.
Yes. Yeah, just do that.
Okay.
Podcast over.
Headline.
So yeah, if you have a giant and loyal fan base and you're really famous already, you can probably put out a book with whatever the hell title you like and people will buy it. So someone like Seth Godin could write whatever title he wanted on his books and I would still buy his books. He would never put a crap title on his book because he is amazing.
Like Harry Potter and the piece of grass.
And the piece of grass.
The small area of grassy bank.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, if J.K. Rowling wrote that book, millions of people would buy it.
Yeah.
That's just the way. You and I, dear listener, almost certainly don't have that luxury.
Yes.
So, I have a small fan base of people who will buy my book no matter how crap the title is, but I would like more people than that to read it. So, so yeah. And another problem is that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be seen as clever and different, and we don't want to be following the crowd. We don't want to do just another formulaic book title, and we don't want to, because the internet marketing crowd that write books, they tend to write quite formulaic books, and they tend to use quite formulaic book titles, and some of them are great. I'm not knocking all of them, but a lot of them are me too's, and it's like, I need to write a book, therefore I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to put any of myself into it. It's just going to be like a glorified business card. Like
I started this business and you won't believe what happened next.
yes, that kind of thing, yeah. yes. But yeah, we want a title really that feels like us. We want a title that we can pick up and be like, yes, this feels like the inside of my head.
Squishy.
And that's why I decided to go with How the Hell Do You Write a Book, because that's what I thought when I first started to write my first book, was how the hell do you do this? Because there were probably loads of courses and books around on how to write a book, but I didn't know about them at the time. And so I just made it up as I went along and made up my own ways of doing things, and
found some that didn't work and found
a lot that didn't work and found some that did. And yeah, so I just thought, how the hell do you write a book? So today, Joe and I are going to give you 10 top tips I've used for myself or for my clients. And bear in mind when we do this, this is for non-fiction authors. If you're writing fiction, you might find it useful, but there are different rules and, it's
sure.
Not really aimed at fiction writers. So my first top tip is to pester everybody you know and ask them for help.
Okay.
So tell them why you're writing a book and tell them what you're hoping it's going to do for your readers. Maybe give them a bit of a summary and then just let them throw ideas at you. Some of them, you might hate, and that's fine. But don't roll your eyes at people because
that'll make them stop talking to you.
Yes, and it's really lovely when people give you any idea. Also, it might lead to something else. You don't know where the next good idea is going to come from. Tell people there's no such thing as a stupid idea. Keep encouraging them to make suggestions, and people will give you really, really good ideas, because if you tell people what your book is about and what you're hoping they'll get from it, then they will say, oh, okay, in that case, I'm hoping that it will be about this, and then I'll give you a couple of book title ideas, and that will be something that you can just start working with.
Yeah.
So that's tip number 1, just talk to people. Tip number 2 is mine your bookshelves.
Mine your bookshelves?
Yes. Delve into them. Have a look at the book titles on your bookshelf.
Okay.
Because you can have a... What are you making a face? That was a bizarre face.
No, I'm just wondering,
why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, so here are a few of the titles on my bookshelf. Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. We Are All Weird by Seth Godin. Ask by Ryan Levesque. The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy. Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. The Artist's Way. Thinking Fast and Slow. Freakonomics. Drunk Tank Pink. Words That Sell. The Gifts of Imperfection. So they're all really cool book titles. Most of them aren't actually in my industry, as in book writing industry, but they all give me good ideas. So when you take, for example, Brené Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection, then you could start thinking about, how can I take that formula of words and see, and can I fit anything to do with writing books into it? So here are just a few really crap ones off the top of my head. The Gifts of Writing a Book, which is terrible, but or the gifts of giving. I'm going to stop with that. Words That Sell really does say what it does what it says on the cover of the book. It's about persuasive language and how to write words that sell. Thinking Fast and Slow is a brilliant title for the book, because the book is literally about thinking fast and slow. Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize in economics despite being a psychologist for his work on the two systems of thinking. So you've got like the automatic brain that just works on habits and heuristics, and then you've got the thinking brain which does the hard work and which your brain does not like doing that. And so one of them thinks fast and the other one thinks slow. And so that's the title of his book, which is brilliant. Bird by Bird is a book on writing by Anne Lamott, and it comes from when and here's another creative idea if you're stuck for coming up with title. She came up with the title of that book from an incident in her childhood when she was supposed to be writing a report for school for her homework on birds, and she just couldn't get started. You know how you just get stuck. And her dad said, and she was like, I don't know how to do this. And her dad said to her, just go bird by bird, which is such great advice. And it kind of goes back to you start with the first board, but it's also a play on words because it's like word by word. That's how you write, word by word. We Are All Weird by Seth Godin is about finding your tribe, finding your weirdos. Ask is about asking for the sale. So it doesn't have to be clever. It doesn't have to be, cunning. It doesn't have to be punny, although it can be. So yeah, have a look at your bookshelf and see what you could take. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I could easily write a book called The Author's Way, which is a bit,
A bit derivative, but there's no reason why that wouldn't work. And by the way, interesting fact, you can't copyright a book title, you can't trademark a book title. There is no reason whatsoever you can't copy somebody else's book title. Don't do it. But you won't get in trouble.
And if you accidentally do, if there happens to be a really obscure book out there, do your research when you're looking for book titles is what I'm saying. If you pick one, Google it to death and make sure you haven't got it. But if by some freak chance you happen to have picked the same book title as someone else, it's not the end of the world.
Particularly if they're completely different industry, talking about something else, doing something else, it's...
Exactly. So go have a look at your bookshelf and see if there is anything there that sparks a thought, anything that, that sparks a little bit of creativity, gives you some ideas as to what you could call your book. Joe, what's the next tip?
Go hunting on Amazon.
Yes.
Now, far be it from me to endorse using Amazon all the time. It is actually a brilliant research tool.
Yeah. People use it as a search engine.
Yes, for things they might wish to buy.
Yeah, but not just for that. People use it now as a search engine for research. I use Amazon as a research tool as well as a shop.
Okay.
So if I want to find out, because you can find out stuff from the synopses of books.
Okay, fair enough.
And descriptions and things.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things you can do there. You could look for books in your industry. You could find the bestsellers in your industry. You can look at the titles of those. Are there any similar to what you're talking about doing? Do any stand out? Do any sound like what you're thinking about? What are people searching for? Can you find out what people are searching for?
You can, yeah, because they'll be the ones that are served to you. It's like Google, they'll be the ones that are served to you first in the results listings.
There'll be popular
Amazon.
answers.
Yeah, and if you pick one book and click on it, you'll also get the these books are similar to and other people bought these books, which is also a good indicator for what's popular and what isn't.
Okay, so can you find a formula in any of these book titles that is working?
Yeah.
Can you adapt it? Can you come up with something yourself?
Yeah, but really importantly, look outside your industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look at other categories. Find titles that seem to work there.
Yeah. Think about what jumps out to you. What title formula jumps out at you, because that's probably something that'll work.
Some that are asking questions, some that are leading you into the next assumptions, some that just seem a little bit intriguing.
Yeah.
Drunk Tank Pink, for me, makes you kind of go, what?
Yeah. It's a really good book about psychology.
Yeah.
It's a very good book. Thoroughly recommended. So, and by the way, if you come up with a title like Drunk Tank Pink, your subtitle had better give me an idea of what the book's about. That's really, really important. And, I'm talking about titles here, but it goes hand in hand with subtitles. And, if you're like, the ultimate sales letter is fairly self-explanatory. But my first book, Business for Superheroes, it's nonsense really. But the subtitle underneath is from scraping the bottom to 6 figures in just 6 months, which I actually think is a really wanky subtitle, but it does it tells you what's going to be in the book. So, okay, so another top tip, keyword research. There's a really great website called answerthepublic.com. It scrapes Google to find out which questions people are asking.
That's cool.
You want to use this for your content research. It is amazing. You get a limited number of searches per day for free. It's very expensive to buy the tool, and unless you are a professional keyword researcher, you don't need it. But I thoroughly recommend going to find it. Put your keywords in. For example, if you're writing a book about dog behaviour, you could type dog behaviour into the search bar, and then it'll pop out hundreds of questions that people are asking. It doesn't work well with really long phrases, but for 2 or 3 words, it's brilliant. And it'll give you lots of different permutations as well. So it'll give you what, where, why, how, who versions of questions in all separate categories. And you can export the file as an Excel file or as a kind of graphical file and use it. I've got loads of these searches saved because I use them for generating content. I use them for doing these podcasts sometimes, you know, if people are asking questions. So that's really good. You can turn an answer to one of those questions that people are asking about your industry into your book title.
Cool.
And you can do that on Google as well. You can look at their keyword research tool, and you can also look at Amazon. So find out what people are typing into its search box by using Kindle keywords. And then you can see, you can come up with a book title you know people will search for and find. Because that's really important. If you want to do well on Amazon, you need to come up with a title that people are going to think of searching for.
Sure.
This is why Answer the Public is so good, because if you're writing content, if you're writing articles and making videos and things, you want to call it something that, you know, if you can hit exactly the phrase that people are searching for, you're going to go straight to number 1 on Google.
You're going to get really good results, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really, really important. There's an offline trick as well that you can use. This is a little bit more expensive, but now we've got the internet, it's much easier. So before the internet was a real proper thing, J. Abraham, who was one of the godfathers of modern marketing, he used to conduct book title research using classified adverts in magazines, or he used to research book topics actually, but you can do the same with titles. So he wanted to make sure there would be a market for the book that he was considering writing. So he would place classified ads in relevant publications to see if they would sell before he wrote a single word. And the book that got written was the one that sold the most.
What?
Yeah, so for all of the other books that he sold, he simply refunded the people who pre-bought a copy. And you can do the same for your book title. You know, you can do that for a book title as well. If you could afford to put adverts in classified magazines.
To be fair, I mean, the equivalent these days might be adverts in Facebook or something.
Exactly. And it's a lot quicker as well. You can find out a lot more quickly if people are doing it. So you can either set up some Facebook ad campaigns, each featuring a different version of your book title. You can do this with book covers as well, by the way. And I know a few people who have done this with book covers and found out which book cover works best.
This is sneaky.
It's super sneaky. And see how many clicks you get. You don't even need to pre-sell the book, although that is a good way of doing it because that's a more accurate gauge of what's going to sell.
These people are more serious. They're not just clicking a pretty picture.
Yeah. But if you can just send each version of your advert to its own landing page and see how many clicks you get and make sure everything's set up to track it with pixels and whatnot. And whichever book title gets the most interest, that's the one you go with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so super simple to do. Shouldn't cost you an awful lot of money if you get somebody who knows what they're doing. Please, for the love of all that is holy, if you don't understand Facebook ads, do not do this on your own. Pay someone to do it, because I promise you that paying someone who knows what they're doing to do it will cost you far less than the shit show that will ensue if you try and do it yourself. Ask me how I know. I reckon I've set fire to thousands of pounds over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that's I reckon. Let's end the podcast on that note, actually, because I think that is a super cool way of finding out, coming up with a book title. And the other ways are kind of creative stuff, and I've got some other stuff that I can share with you. But I actually have an article on Medium all about this, so you can go and read a little bit more about it.
An article on what?
Medium.com.
Medium.com?
Yeah, it's an article curation website.
Not for visiting the afterlife or anything?
No.
Okay, cool.
Not that I'm aware of.
Different kind of medium.
So yeah, so if you want if you want to find out more about book titles and a few more of my tips for coming up with book titles, go off to medium.com, search for Vicky Fraser and have a look at the stories that I've written, and it will be under there. I think under the title of ARG, how do I come up with a book title? Shut up. But again, that's a really good article title because, okay, people might not type in ARG, although I actually quite often type in ARG into Google.
Yeah.
Do you?
Not so much ARG, but WAH.
Yeah. And
WTFs and things like that.
I call that the rage Google moment. It's the moment that you break, that something in your little tiny mind breaks, and you go onto Google and you rage Google something. Like, what the fuck is Theresa May doing is something that I would imagine quite a lot of people are rage Googling at the moment. And Fucking politicians is another thing that probably quite a lot of people will be rage Googling at the moment. So yeah, think about what your... Actually, that's really good. Think about what your target reader is going to be rage Googling. For me, it's how the hell do you write a book? Yeah. Right then.
Cool.
What's the takeaway for this?
Takeaway, stick with it. It's work, isn't it? You got to do this stuff. You can't just.
It won't just.
It's not just going to magically pop into your head. One of your mates is not going to just go, "Oh, I think you should call your book this," and it'll be perfect.
No,
it's not going to happen. You have to put some time into it. You have to put some effort into it. You have to sleep on it, cogitate, digest, jumble all the words up, try again, and what will shake out after a couple of weeks thinking about it is a book title that works.
Yeah. Well, after a couple of weeks, it might be a book title that's shit, but at least you've got something to start with. So yeah, stick with it. If you've got any questions about writing a book or coming up with a book title or anything to do with books, as per usual, just drop me an email, vicky@vickyfraser.com, and we will answer it in the podcast. I promise. And next week, we're going to be doing another Q&A session.
Okay.
With more questions, because I've got loads more questions.
Blimey. Okay.
And yeah. Oh, if you've listened to every episode, email me with your postal address and I will send you a special silly gift.
Nice.
In the post. And if you liked this podcast, please go and subscribe on iTunes. We like that. And please rate us.
5 stars.
5 stars. Or, wherever you get your podcasts from, please subscribe to us there and give us 5 stars there, please.
Give us all of the stars. Whatever the rating system is, give us all of them.
And if you could leave us a review, that would be lovely. It would be really helpful. Thank you. Please.
Bye.
Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.